when you're thinking about what you're going to do next, you don't factor in that I can help, because I can tell you I thought long and hard before I was going to go to Oracle, because I knew it would be very demanding with travel.
Hi, Kimberly. How are you?
Hi, Rosie.
Thank you so much for being on my podcast today. So we have a special guest, Kimberly, the CEO of CAT Solutions LLC. Kimberly, before we go deeper in your CPA journey, can you introduce a little bit more about yourself?
Absolutely. So I don't know where to start. Let me start with I am a wife. I am a mother of two sons. I have spent a lot of time giving back to the community. Those are the things that are really, really important to me. And everything else I say would pale in comparison to those things. But I have had the opportunity to study both accounting and technology. So I'm really, really excited to speak about my career journey, because I hope I inspire other people.
Oh my God, I feel like I see you everywhere in social media. And all the awards in the social media, I was like, wow, she's everywhere. So yeah, you are one of like very famous accountants in this profession. So I'm very happy to have you on my podcast today. We have a lot to ask. But let's go from very beginning when you start in college. Why did you decide to go with accounting and technology? Did anyone advise you to do that?
It's really interesting, and people ask me this all the time. I decided I was going to be a CPA in the third grade. And someone said, Kimberly, how could you know? Because those career days pay off. So, for all of our colleagues who are listening right now, please make sure you try to do at least 2 career days. I think it's really important. You never know who you might inspire, because someone inspired me. And on that particular career day, they talked about being a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, and they said accountants manage the money. I'm sure they said great things about the others, but when they said accountants manage the money, I was sold. That's what I wanted to do. I was going to boss it over my sisters, because if you manage the money, you're the boss. And that's what I said. That would be it. But when I got to college, Rosie, they didn't have an accounting program at the school I went to. They actually had economics. Didn't want to major in economics. So I was like, tell me what else you have. And they said information systems. So I actually ended up majoring in information systems, still wanted to be a CPA, got my MBA, still wanted to be a CPA, was working at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center, still wanted to be a CPA. So I decided I was going to go back to school. So I went to a community college for 2 years, butts and seats, because they were not doing it online back then. Or at least I didn't know about it. And so I took accounting for 2 years to get all the classes I needed so I could sit for the exam. So I have been walking this intersection of accounting and technology, but I basically intentionally had to do it because back when I was studying, they did not have accounting information systems, certainly not at my school. So I put them together very intentionally.
You have a very strong desire to be an accountant. You're like, no, I have to be an accountant no matter what. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter if you don't have major, I will fight the way to be an accountant.
true. True.
Wow. And so because you do both accounting and technology, how do you find the connection between two of them?
It's interesting because in information systems, I never knew this was going to be the connection. I really figured this out on the back end. I didn't know on the front end. I took a lot of programming classes or classes that talked about systems design thinking, and those really paid off. Because as I walk into environments and talked about internal controls or the effectiveness of controls, because I learned to program, and let me tell you, I spent hours trying to get programs to compile. When I hear a process, I can hear something's missing. And even if I was the person sitting down back on the earlier end of my career, documenting the process, I can see where the gaps are because of the years I learned how to program. And I think that has served me in great stead. And in today's environment, since almost everything we do, I want to say everything, but I'm going to say almost, because someone could figure out something we don't use technology for, is technology centric. Every application, the things we're doing, the things, how we operate, the people we lead and manage, I just think there's a technology component. And so it's worked out really well to bring both of those things together for me.
Wow. So it looks like in your career, you work at NASA and then you work at System Integration Program at Motorola, but those are for technology major, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
then
yes.
once you have the accounting major, you jump to KPMG. Is that correct?
That is correct. But Rosie, that was after I failed a CPA exam because I was still in Motorola and I took the exam when I finished all the classes I needed. So I have a certificate in public accounting from the Community College of Baltimore County, and I took the exam. But guess what? I didn't put any real effort in, not the effort that I needed to study. I failed it, and then I had to get real serious and look at what am I doing? Is this really what I want to do? And if it is, I have to make a course correction. So I made the course correction, went to KPMG, got around people who were thinking like me and in environments where there was this push and drive and I'm competitive. And so I really just dug in and I passed the exam. So I failed it in the same year that I passed it in, which is amazing. That's to show how quick I was doing that turnaround in the time, Rosie, when we took the exam all together. So all four parts together and paper and pencil on basically some picnic tables and some rickety chairs. And that's when I took the exam and passed it. So during that time frame.
Another thing I know is that you intentionally do things for accounting career. First, you intentionally take accounting courses, and then you intentionally choose a job at KPMG to be able to have a strong motivation to pass the CPA exam. So I'm just curious that from the third grade, you know that you want to be an accountant. Do you know the difference between accountant and CPA at that point that drive you? No?
No, not at all. I think if they were trying to explain it, they probably would say, "Oh, you want to be a CPA," because they were probably trying to say that being an accountant was one path, but the next order up would be to be a CPA. Today, I know that there are full career paths as an accountant and full career paths as a CPA. But I wouldn't have necessarily known that then. I think they were just trying to get the point across that accountants grow, share, manage, lead in the space of money, and that's how they could connect to third graders. To say anything more than that would probably be overkill, which is what I tell my colleagues when they're going in to speak to students, that they have to bring it down to the student's level and what the student would understand and capture their attention. Because if they tried to go into all the details about financial statements and taxes, they probably would lose that great student to something else.
That's true. I absolutely agree with you. I know the time you worked at KPMG was a long time ago, but I was wondering if you recall anything like the best memories or the worst memories during the
I
time you
have
worked at
really
KPMG.
good memories. Oh my gosh. So I worked in the Baltimore office and I was so delighted to find out that there was a mall in the same building as the office. And I really enjoyed, working with my colleagues in the office because I came in pretty much every day, and unless I was out on a client site. And I just enjoyed working with all across the teams. I was in what we would call advisory services now, and I think they call it risk advisory services. It was ERM, and anybody who worked in ERM knows what ERM is. And it was a great intersection between all of the other groups and doing great collaboration. So great stories and memories of people who were working really hard and people who were also working to get their CPA and just motivating each other to try to pass the exam.
So when you work at KPMG, it seems like you went straight to audit section. Have you ever thought about doing tax at all, or that someone that you say, "Oh, I want audit, and that's going to be my path"?
Well, and it was a systems component of audit as well. So audit and then information technology components of audit and then just, general consulting work. I would say no, I've not actually had any desire, Rosie, to do taxes because I think there's a body of knowledge and discipline for people who really want to pursue taxes that they should always maintain and keep up. We've got to operate at the highest levels of competence in everything that we do. And I knew that I wasn't going to keep it up to that level. So I actually have a tax CPA who actually helps me out quite a bit on strategy and planning and actually doing my taxes. And I think that is a phenomenal way and the best use of my time. I've had people say, well, Kimberly, you're a CPA. Shouldn't you be doing your taxes? And I said, that might be true, but if I was a heart surgeon, that doesn't mean I'm checking my own eyes. So why would you expect that I would do my own taxes? And I think we have colleagues who are amazing at what they do. And so I just want to use the best resources possible. And that's why I actually use someone who really loves and is passionate about taxes. And that is definitely not me.
Wow, I have to say that I'm one of those people that who thought audit was my career. And then I moved to tax and I'm like so in love with
You love
tax.
it?
Oh, I love it. And it's funny that the audience may hear about this a lot from different conversation, but I'm very extrovert. And that's why I chose audit at the very beginning. But and then it's just so funny that it's just not for me. And so I moved to tax and they would say, oh my God, I love it. And then when I moved to tax, I'm like way above and beyond extrovert comparing with other tax people. Because most tax people, they're
Oh my
not that
gosh. So
extrovert.
listen, you're
But it
standing
doesn't mean
out.
you can say it that way. So you stay at KPMG for only 2 years and then you move to Prince George County. And oh my God, you become the Chief Information Technology Officer. That's a big jump from 2 years in
Yes.
KPMG and then become the Chief Information Technology. How was that transition for you? And did you still have to work on both
Oh,
technology and
is
accounting?
yes. So a big jump, but that would have been the only thing that could have pulled me out of KPMG. I loved it. I love the people. I love working there. All good things and memories. But I had the opportunity to be the CITO, Chief Information Technology Officer for the executive, legislative, judicial branches of government in Prince George's County. Amazing opportunity. I don't think that's one that you could turn down. And I think what was so compelling about it for me is that it's leadership at the highest levels. I went there and there were so many different departments. Can you imagine learning about fire, police, and sheriff, learning about the 911 systems, learning about housing, social work, budget, finance, accounting, all the functions that were our customers were actually in, and providing support and services to them in those respective areas. So you're talking about 26 different departments, talking also about appointed areas. And then when you think about the legislative branch of government and the judicial branch of government, that's a whole nother area of complexity and understanding and people leadership and stakeholder management at the same time. And I'll tell you, during that time frame I was there, 9/11 happened. There was a sniper incident. There was an anthrax incident. I had to really get into gear very quickly on how I could support and lead, especially during a crisis situation. So I learned a lot. And I think my background up until that point prepared me well, and especially relationship building. When you come in as an outsider into an environment, you have to really kick in with relationship building. And that's where I would say, from what I had learned in all the places before, this was like prime time, the real deal relationship building when you're in state and local government.
Did you have a difficult time to learn all everything that you just told me at the very beginning because it seemed to be very new? It's not something like you learn it from prior jobs at KPMG or NASA or Motorola.
So that's a great question, because I'll tell you today what I would tell people is that I learned how to learn, because people have seen in my career, I've gone from industry to industry and they're like, Kimberly, how did you learn those things? Because there are certain components that are similar no matter what industry it is. There are going to be people, there's going to be processes, there's the technology, and it's also the financial systems and other resources of how they operate. And you take that framework and then you sit down and ask someone to take you through the day in the life. Tell me what happens in the day of the life. How do you interface with systems? How do you interface with people? It's almost like a journey map from the client's perspective. And in this case, these were all these various departments and other branches of government. And I learned a lot about what they did. I just dug right into it so that I could figure out where were the risks, where were the pain, where was the opportunity, and what I could do to help.
So if you had such that great experience about building relationship and a lot of learning experience as well, what made you decide to move to Oracle and work there for almost 17 years?
Excellent point. So, what happens in government in any place, I think leadership changes. And the team that hired me through an executive recruiter, I went through like 20 different interviews to get this job. I think that, and also lots of references. So, it's always interesting. You never know what reference they're going to ask for. But in this case, they asked for 5 people that reported to me, 5 of my peers, and 5 of my leaders that I reported into. So it was kind of 360 degrees. You never know what people are going to say when they don't think that you would ever find out. So I'm very fortunate that people said good things about me. But I will tell you, the leaders that I came in with were gone. And so I think when you're serving at such a high level, you have to have some chemistry and between you and the leader that you support. And it's typical in the state and local government that when the person comes in, they want to bring their team in. And so it was a great opportunity. I actually had my 2 kids while I was actually in state and local government. And so it was time. And it was a great opportunity. And I have fond memories of working in state and local government. I think I worked hardest there than I've ever worked anywhere else in my whole life because there was always something to do and the mission was so important. And the people and the leaders took it so seriously and it's commendable. And so hats off to all the leaders who serve because it's really about servant leadership when you're working in government. A lot of people don't know that. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about government. And it was just interesting for me to see it firsthand how hard people really do work. And so when the opportunity came to work at Oracle, I thought this is yet another opportunity for me. And so I took advantage of that. Although at the time I had my husband, 2 small kids, he always says, Kimberly, when you're thinking about what you're going to do next, you don't factor in that I can help because I can tell you I thought long and hard before I was going to go to Oracle because I knew it would be very demanding with travel. But my husband was right there the whole time helping me and saying, you have to take this role. You cannot not take this job. It's a great job for you. And he was right. And it was a great role. And he stepped up and all my family stepped up and I had an au pair. And so it was awesome. It was a great, great time.
Wow. Your husband is such a great partner. He's like a
Yes.
great supporter for your career. That's amazing. And did you just tell me that you have 2 kids in 3 years?
I know, okay, wait. So they are 22 months apart. Yes.
Oh,
I felt like I was pregnant, nursing, and pregnant. So for like 4 years, I felt like my body was not my own. So I'm sure people can recognize what that would feel like. But yes, 22 months apart.
wow. And so it seems like right after you had the second one, you jumped to the new job right away. And so did you face anything with like depression after birth or like stress and how you manage it for the new
You know
job
what?
as well?
That is great. And here's the dilemma. I know it's an individual path. And women, please get help if you need help because there's no shame in asking for help. Fortunately, in my case, I think I felt guilty because I didn't want to stay at home because for whatever reason, I had a lot of colleagues who had kids and they wanted to stay home. I was thinking maybe I'm going to feel that, but I never felt like I wanted to stay home. I always felt like I could be my best self if I had help to do it and that I wanted to do multiple things. And I always felt that I could do multiple things if I had someone to help me. So my mom would actually travel with me on the road so that I could take the kids with me. Or I had the most amazing leader. I probably was the most expensive employee when it came to travel. I would leave like 6 o'clock in the morning and then I would try to get back at like 7 o'clock at night, or I would count the sleeps away so I wouldn't be gone too long. And as they got older and they couldn't travel with me, I would leave after they went to school and then try to get back the next day before they would go to bed. And it was just a lot of juggling because I wanted to be there and be present, but I also wanted to do multiple things. And so it's always that balance of trying to be there and not feel guilt and not let other people make me feel guilt because I didn't want to stay home. I just think there are people who want to, and I think if they are able to do it, they should 100% do it. But if you don't, I don't think you should feel guilt about it either.
It's amazing because before I got pregnant, I have million things I wanted to do, like million things, not just a few things, so many things I wanted to do. And then when I start being pregnant, and I was like, I don't want to do any of those things.
Now, how many
So
kids do you have,
mentality shift.
Rosie? How many kids do you have?
This is the first one.
Okay, so this is your first one. And so it might change your perspective, and it's okay. We're all in different seasons. You might time out for 4 or 5 years, 10 years. I've had colleagues that have come back to the profession because they were taking care of everything at home, and 10, 15 years go by. Their kids are teenagers, and it's all okay. It's all okay. I think the benefit of being in our profession is that you can do that because those skills are still relevant and we still need them. So if anybody's listening to this and they've taken a time out and they want to come back, I think there's somewhere and a place for them that they can, add their skill sets.
I like it. I like it. It means that there's an option out there for moms, either stay in the profession or just decide to take a break and then go back later. Is
Yes, and
really
dads too, Rosie, and dads too. There are plenty of dads who, I guess the conversation has to happen, and then they decide which one of them might be the one who stays home with the kids for a while. And meanwhile, let me tell you, it's hard work. They are in there making sure everything's functioning and everything's going great. That's a lot of work. The times that I have been home, I've thought, whoa, I gotta get back to work. It's a lot of work here at home. All these things that need to get done. So I think that everyone has a role to play, and I think we should value and appreciate the role that they choose to play.
awesome. I hope all moms to be, all moms out there listen to this conversation and take it. Because a lot of time I feel like we are afraid to speak up and we are afraid to make decision because we just worry too much about all the judgments out there. That it may be true, may be not true. So
It is, there are quite a few people who are judgy, but I just think we have to take the speck out of our own eye, give people grace if you want grace, and not judge other people's decisions that really don't, in the big end of the day, they don't impact you at all.
yeah, I noticed that you always have a very strong mentality throughout just like very early conversation. You
Yeah.
like, I know what I want. I'm going to stay with that. I'm going to get what I need. And also you like stay very consistent with your plan as well, or your career growth. So that strong mentality, I mean, like, do you build that up over time, or that's something in your blood that in your family, everyone is very, very strong, that you have it from your mom and your dad?
I think I have it from my mom and my dad, but I will tell you what, I mean, I was so nerdy, Rosie, so nerdy. When I graduated valedictorian, although I was hysterical because I thought it was the best thing that ever had happened to me at that point, my mom was like, I'm not surprised because I was always so determined. I knew I wanted to get a scholarship. I knew that that was going to be important for me to go to school. I had a lot of mentors, coaches, and sponsors. I definitely wouldn't be here today without them. And so I just think people need positive reinforcement because a lot of these different hard things that people say they're going to do, if they don't have the mental capacity to get through it, they're not going to get through it. We have to have resilience because disappointments are going to happen. I failed a CPA exam. I could have made 10 different excuses about why that happened. I didn't make any excuses. I owned it. I didn't study enough. I didn't put in the time. I need to get it done. And I think I've always tried to be realistic with myself about the gaps and things I need to work on. And I've had other people on my personal board of directors who help me do that as well. And it just makes you want to get up every single day and try to be better tomorrow than you are today. But I'm also a person of faith. And because I'm a person of faith, it's my anchor so that when things don't go the way I want, I think there's another chance. As long as I'm waking up, there's a chance to do it the next day. And my parents kind of seeded that because they always said you can do anything that you want to do, but they just wanted me to be aware of the responsibility, the accountability, and the effort it would take to do those things.